Hey everybody, in today's lesson we're looking at how to graph linear equations. So just to remind you, linear equations refer to straight lines, and what we're trying to do is complete a table of values, which is this one, which you already know how to do, just by using a formula here, and it'll produce y values. And then each pair of these values are going to be coordinates that we plot on what we call a Cartesian plane or a number plane, right there. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to complete that table. So the equation is y is equal to x plus 3. We're going to substitute x as -1, followed by these numbers here. So if we substitute a -1, we'll have y equals -1 plus 3, which is going to be 2. When we substitute in 0 into that, we get 0 plus 3, which is 3. When we substitute in 1, we get 1 plus 3, which is 4. And when we substitute in 2, we get 2 plus 3, which is 5. So now let's plot -1, 2. So -1, 2 means left by 1, 2 up, like that, and draw a point. Okay, so this starts from the origin. You go left by 1, up by 2. Next point, x is 0, y is 3. So start with the x value of 0, okay, this is on the horizontal axis, and go up by 3 on the y-axis. So that means your point is going to be there. Okay. And then what we're going to do is go right by 1, up by 4. So right by 1, okay, on the x-axis, and up by 4, okay, in the vertical direction of y. So we'll have this going on. There we go. And then 2, 5 means 2 right. Okay, and then up by 5 there. Okay, and then once we use a ruler to draw a straight line like this, we will get this linear graph happening. Okay, and we can try and plot some more values so that we know where this line intersects the x-axis. Okay, and there's my line. Right, let's have a look at question C. C says y equals to 2x. So when x equals to -1, 2 times -1 is -2. 2 times 0 is going to be 0. 2 times 1 is going to be 2. And 2 times 2 will be 4. Okay, so now what we do is we just plot out just a few values, just for a start. Okay, that should be enough, I reckon. So the positive x values are on the right, negative values on the left, positive y values on the top, and negative y values on the bottom. So we've got -1, -2, which means 1 to the left of the origin, and then 2 down, like that. So that means we have that coordinate there, and then we have 0, 0, which is our origin right there. 1, 2, which means 1 to the right and 2 up. And then 2, 4, which means 2 to the right and then 4 up. Whoops, it should be somewhere there. I'm just going to plot just a few more values like that. And I'll have 2, 4 right there. Okay, so if I join those dots up, I'll get this straight line. There we go. All right, and that is the linear graph for y equals 2x. Moving on. Question E says y equals to 6 minus x. So we're going to replace x by 0, followed by 1, 2, and 3. That means we get 6 minus 0 first, which is 6. 6 minus 1 is 5. 6 minus 2 is going to be 4. 6 minus 3 will be 3. And we start plotting out our coordinates. So 0, 6 is our first value. But first of all, let's just put down a few points. So there's 1 and 2 on the right, negative 1, negative 2 on the left, negative 1, negative 2 on the bottom here. And we need this to go up to the number 6, right there. So 0, 6 will be up here. So 0 left or right, but 6 upwards. 1, 5 means 1 to the right, 5 up. Whereas 2, 4, okay, to the right, 4 up is here. And 3, 3 will be there. Okay, there we go. So there's our graph of y equals 6 minus x. Let's move on. Okay, for question 2, nothing too much different. We're just graphing out each linear equation, just like how we did before. But what you've got to do is create the table value yourself. In the previous questions, we've had table values that stretch out to number 3. I prefer to use 0, 1, and 2. That should be enough. Any 3 x values is enough because we used 2 dots, let's just say these 2 dots, to create just some pattern, but the third dot confirms whether you did it right or not. Okay, so if I get a third dot like this, then of course it's a straight line. But if I have 1, 2, and then a third dot here, that does not make a straight line. Okay, so then you've made your mistake on one of the points, so you restart it. So 3 dots should be enough. Now, y equals 2x plus 1. Let's just substitute in x is 0. So 2 times 0 plus 1 is 1. 2 times 1 plus 1, which is 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay, just realized I don't need this. 2 times 2 plus 1 is going to be 5. All right, so let's plot out 0, 1. Okay, I'm just going to plot out some values first. There we go. Okay, so 0, 1 would be right here. 1, 3, 1 to the right, 3 up will be there. 2, 5, 2 to the right, 5 up will be there. So if I join those together, okay, I'll get a straight line. There we go, that's 2x plus 1. Okay, question D. Again, I don't need this. Y is equal to 3x minus 2. So we're going to replace x by 0 first. 3 times 0 is 0, minus 2 is negative 2. Okay, if I do 3 times 1 minus 2, 3 times 1 is 3, 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 times 2 minus 2, well, 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 2 is 4. And again, we start plotting our values. Okay, so the first coordinate is 0, negative 2. So 0 on the x-axis, but negative 2 on the y-axis. Okay, or y values. Then our next coordinate is 1, 1. So 1 to the right and 1 up. That's here. And then 2, 4 will be 2 to the right, 4 up, which is there. So again, draw a straight line. Okay, and there's your linear graph of y equals 3x minus 2. Right, so now for question 3, it says, look at the graphs you drew in question 2. Why are they called increasing graphs? So if we have a look at question 2 right now, both of these graphs here, they're called increasing graphs for a reason. It's because from left to right, it's going up. Okay? So what that means, as the x values increase, so as we look towards the right, okay, or left to right, the y values go up. Okay? So we can see that. Okay? Because if you have a look at this is going up more and more and more as we go this way. And the y values go up more and more this way as well from the table. Okay? Or from the graph, you can say from left to right, it goes up. Right? But specifically speaking, we say as the x values increase, the y values also increase. Okay? Now, there's a specific way we can actually identify that's an increasing graph. So when I write these two equations down again, 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 2, okay, what we've just got to look at is the number before the x. Okay, so if these numbers here are positive, that means it's an increasing graph. There we go. All right, let's have a look at question 4. Graph each linear equation on a number plane. So this time we've got 4a being y equals minus x. Y equals minus x just means the same thing as y equals to minus 1 times x. So if I substitute an x as 0, 1, and 2, minus 1 times 0 is 0. Minus 1 times 1 is negative 1. And minus 1 times 2 is negative 2. Don't need this. Okay. So let's plot that. 0, 0 is in the middle. 1, negative 1 will be down here. And then 2, negative 2 will be down there. So we join that all together. We get that straight line. Okay. And you can plot more values on the x and y axis, but you don't really need those. Okay. E. Y equals to 1 minus 3x. Okay. So we're going to substitute in x as 0 in there. So that means we have to do 1 minus 3 times 0, which is 1. 1 minus 3 times 1, which is negative 2. And then also 1 minus 3 times 2 is 1 minus 6, which is negative 5. Okay, so I'll just plot out some values just for a start. Okay, there we go, that's enough. Then 0, 1 would be 0 left to right, but 1 upwards. So we're going to put a point right there. 1, negative 2 means 1 to the right, but 2 down, which means there's a point here. Okay, and then 2 to the right, but negative 5 is 5 down. That's there. So we're just going to draw a straight line right there. And there's your graph for y equals 1 minus 3x. Now look at the graphs you drew in question 4. Why are they called decreasing graphs? Now, both of these graphs are decreasing. You can tell because they're going down from left to right, like that. And that is because as the x values here go higher, so they increase over time, the y values here, they decrease over time. Okay? So you can see that for E as well in the table. As the x values go up, the y values go down from left to right. You can see that, right? So we're going to write as the x values increase, the y values decrease. And you can also say the line moves downwards from left to right. Okay. Now, again, there's a specific way just to tell whether it's going to go down or not, just by looking at the equation. So let me just copy down those equations. We've got 1 minus 3x and negative x. So when you want to figure out if it's decreasing or increasing, we look at the number just right before the x. In this case, it's a -1, and the other one is a -3. Okay, it's right before the x. So because those two numbers are negative, because these are negative, that means the graph is decreasing. Okay, if it's positive, that means it's increasing. So for question 6, by looking at each linear equation, predict whether its graph will be increasing or decreasing. Just look at the number that is right before the x value. So it's this one here, the 5. Okay, since it's a positive 5, we say it's going to be increasing. For B, there's a number 1 in front of the x that is invisible. So that is positive, and therefore our answer would be increasing. Okay. C, the number that's right before the x is a -1. That's invisible. I'll write that there. And because it's negative, we say that this graph will be decreasing. For part D, the number before the x here is positive. So we say it's increasing. For E, the number before the x, again, is a -1. So this will be decreasing. F, our number before the x is a negative number, and that means it's decreasing.